It's not about wanting, it's about needing. Chapter 1, Artur's story. Artur was always a dreamer. As a child, sitting on the sidewalk of his small community, he would look up at the sky and say, "One day, I will change my family's life. I will make my mother proud." These words were repeated so often that they became part of who he was. His friends laughed, some believed him, but deep down, everyone knew. Talk is cheap. Artur wanted so much, but wanting isn't enough. He spent hours imagining a better life, but spent little time building the path to it. Dreaming was easier than acting. He worked odd jobs, studied when he could, and always said, "The future will be different." However, when the time came to open the book, he became distracted. When a difficult opportunity arose, he gave up before even trying. The truth is, Artur lived more in the world of one day than in the world of now. But life doesn't ask if we're ready. It just happens. One day, his mother fell ill. It wasn't a simple cold. It was something serious, requiring expensive medication and constant care. Artur clearly remembers his mother's fragile look, trying to smile, so as not to worry him. It was as if the ground had disappeared. From that moment on, the dream stopped being a distant desire. It became a brutal necessity. He realized he could no longer afford to want. It wasn't about waiting for motivation, nor telling stories about the future. Now it was about needing money for medicine, needing discipline to study and get a better opportunity, needing to be strong, even when his body was crying out for rest. And it was in this reality check that Artur understood something that would change his life. It's not about wanting, it's about needing. When he simply wanted, he made excuses. "I'm tired. It's not the right time. One day it will work out." But when he started needing, those phrases disappeared. Wanting is negotiable, needing is non-negotiable. That night, Artur promised himself he would do whatever it took. He cried. He felt afraid, but something inside him awakened. For the first time, he wasn't chasing an abstract dream. He was racing for the survival of the one he loved most. And it's precisely at that point that most people transform. It's not when they want something, but when they need it. The difference is enormous. When you want it, you wait for the right time. When you need it, you create the right time. When you want it, you rest halfway. When you need it, you keep going until you fall. And when you fall, you get back up. Artur discovered a strength he never imagined he possessed. Suddenly, waking up early was no longer a burden. Working longer hours wasn't a punishment. Studying late wasn't a sacrifice. All of this became an obligation, but an obligation he accepted with pride, because his mother's life depended on it. At that moment, he realized, the strongest dreams aren't born of desire, but of necessity. That was the turning point. The boy who had previously only talked about the future began to build it, and every step he took was driven not by desire, but by urgency. The difference between wanting and needing. There's an invisible line that separates those who just want from those who truly need. And this line makes all the difference in life's outcomes. When you want, effort is optional. You do it when you feel like it. Study when you have time. Work when you're inspired. Wanting is based on comfort. It's like saying, "It would be nice if it happened." It's fragile, because any obstacle is enough to stop you. But when you need, the game changes. There's no room for laziness, no option to give up. Need creates urgency, and urgency creates action. When you need, you don't wait for motivation, because you understand that your life, or the life of someone you love, depends on it. Artur experienced this difference firsthand. When he just wanted, he distracted himself, procrastinated, and made excuses. But the day his mother needed him, his mindset changed. He didn't wake up early because he wanted to. He woke up because he couldn't sleep anymore. He didn't study because it was nice to have a diploma. He studied because he couldn't sleep anymore. I studied because each page represented a chance to change reality. It's simple. Wanting is born of desire. Need is born of survival. And when you act for survival, your strength multiplies. How many times have you wanted something and given up halfway? Now think. If your life depended on it, would you have stopped? Of course not. Because when you need something, you spare no effort, You don't look for shortcuts. You don't complain about the pain. That's the lesson. Those who want it, dream it. Those who need it, do it. The power of purpose. Artur realized that when his dream became a necessity, something greater was born within him. Purpose. And purpose is much more powerful than mere desire. Before, he studied only to pass the year. Then, he began studying so his mother could get the medicine she needed. Before, he worked for quick money. Then, he worked to build a dignified life. This change in intention turned every action into fuel. Purpose gives meaning to sacrifice. Waking up early was no longer a punishment, it was a mission. Sleeping late was no longer suffering, it was a commitment. Every effort ceased to be burdensome because it was connected to something greater than himself. Many people give up because they base their journey solely on wanting to be successful, make money, or be recognized. But these desires don't sustain anyone for long. When difficulties arise, and they always do, desire loses strength. Purpose, however, keeps you going. Artur understood this clearly. It wasn't just about him. His purpose was his mother, his family, his story. He couldn't fail. And this certainty made him more disciplined than any momentary motivation. Purpose is what turns effort into passion. It's what keeps you going even when it hurts. It's what gives you the courage to face the impossible. That's why, when you discover why you're struggling, you'll have the energy to do what once seemed impossible. Wanting is weak, purpose is unbreakable. Chapter 4. Discipline that transforms. Initially, Artur saw discipline as an enemy. For him, waking up early was a sacrifice, studying for hours at a time was a punishment, and working hard seemed too much. But when the need arose, everything changed. He discovered that discipline isn't a prison, it's liberation. Every morning he got up early stopped being a pain and became a victory. Every sleepless night, studying wasn't a burden, but an investment. The routine that once seemed suffocating was now a path to saving those he loved. The big turning point came when Artur realized that motivation is fickle, but discipline is constant. Motivation depends on mood, the climate, and willpower. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't ask how you feel. It demands action. And that's what sustained him. There were days when he was tired, others when fear hit hard, but discipline kept him moving anyway. He understood that those who need it don't wait to be motivated. They just do it. This change transformed his identity. Artur went from being someone who dreamed to someone who built. Discipline shaped him silently, brick by brick, habit by habit. Many people shy away from discipline because they see it as a burden. But in truth, it is discipline that grants freedom. The freedom to choose, to sustain, to succeed. Artur discovered that success belongs not to the most talented, but to the most disciplined. Because talent opens doors, but it is discipline that keeps those doors open. In the end, he no longer needed strength to keep going. Discipline had become a part of him. And that is what transforms, when discipline stops being effort and becomes identity. Resilience in pain. Artur's journey was neither straight nor easy. There were days when everything seemed to go wrong. The exams were difficult, the money wasn't enough, and fatigue mounted. He failed several times, considered giving up, and cried in secret so as not to worry his mother. But each time he fell, something inside him lifted him up. Necessity. He had no choice. Pain wasn't a signal to stop. It was a signal to keep going. He understood that those in need don't give in to failure. They use it as fuel. Resilience was born precisely in the hardest moments. When rejection came, he learned. When the door closed, he sought another. When life seemed to crush him, he took a deep breath and took another step. Pain became a teacher. It showed him that every stumble was part of the process, that no growth comes without scars, and that the difference between those who succeed and those who give up isn't the absence of pain, but the way they face it. Artur began to see each difficulty as training. If life was hard, it was because he was getting stronger. Resilience taught him to look beyond momentary suffering and see the future he was building. Many stop because they confuse pain with the end. But Artur discovered that pain is just the beginning of a new version of himself. And it was like this, falling and getting up, stumbling and persisting, that he grew. Because resilience isn't about not feeling pain. It's about not letting pain decide for you. In the end, he realized pain wasn't an enemy, it was an ally. It was pain that forged him for victory. The victory of those in need. After so many sleepless nights, so many hidden tears, and so many no's received, Artur finally began to reap the rewards of his journey. What once seemed impossible began to happen little by little. First, he was able to pay for his mother's medicine. Then, he landed a better job opportunity. Later, he entered college. Each victory was a reminder. Discipline, purpose, and resilience had paid off. But the true victory wasn't just in material achievements. It was an internal transformation. The young man who once lived on vague dreams became someone capable of action, persistence, and success. He no longer needed to say, "One day, I'm going to change my family's life." He was already changing. Artur's victory proved a simple truth. When you need something, you don't stop until you get it. Not because it's easy, but because there's no alternative. Necessity forced him to push limits, to grow beyond his own excuses, and to discover strengths he never imagined he had. What began as pain became fuel. What seemed like defeat turned into a stepping stone. And in the end, what was born of necessity became a victory. Artur looked at his mother, now smiling, and understood. The effort was worth it. Everything he went through was part of the process that made him successful. The victory wasn't just his, but everyone's who believed in it. A victory that was born of necessity, grew in discipline, and blossomed in resilience. And that's why he can say with conviction, it's not about wanting, it's about needing. Because when you need, you become unstoppable.